Good evening, everyone. Welcome to, it is January 26, 2023. The time is 6:19 p.m. This is the Historic and Environmental Preservation Board workshop of the city of Opa-locka. Madam Clerk, roll call. Roll call.
There we go. Zamar Brown here.
Alex Van Meckel here.
Board Member Robert Smith.
Here.
Okay. Board Member McIntyre. Here. Chair Finn. Board Member Ferguson. Board Member Nixon. Board Member Suarez. And for the record, Board Member Williams will not be joining us tonight. Attendance confirmed. Thank you.
Thank you. And if all would please remain seated for a moment of silence. And please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you very much. Once again, good evening to those in person tonight. A warm welcome to the great city of Opa-locka, and to anyone participating virtually. Welcome to, once again, the Historic and Environmental Preservation Board workshop. Madam Clerk, do we have discussions or presentations for this evening?
Yes, sir. It's listed on the agenda for tonight.
Wonderful. I see that we have here the introduction of Main Street Opa-locka, and I understand that we have in-house a couple of wonderful presentations from guests. So I will leave it to staff member Corian Delane, CRA manager, to go ahead and kick us off.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, board members. Corian Delane, Opa-locka CRA manager and Main Street Opa-locka executive director. Happy that you all are here. This is an opportunity for us to explore, utilizing Main Street as an opportunity to really redefine what Opa-locka is going to look like in the future. This is a program that's run nationally across the country that looks at historic downtowns and create vibrant communities, looking at the historical nature of these communities and looking at opportunities to really bring out the full vibrancies of these areas. To give a little more of that background, we actually have visiting with us today, albeit virtually, both the state Main Street coordinator, Ms. Catherine Beck, and from the National Main Street Center, Ms. Dion. So at this time, I'd like to give them an opportunity if they could introduce themselves, and they are on Zoom virtually. So Ms. Beck, if you hear us. I believe so.
Yes, we hear you. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for inviting us. I am Dion Bowe, Vice President of Urban Development with the National Main Street Center. We're based in Chicago. We have a staff of about 35, and we're currently working in 50 states across the country, as well as in Puerto Rico. Our approach has served over 2,000 communities since our inception 45 years ago. We are working in partnership with Florida Main Street, Ms. Catherine Beck, and that is the reason that actually National Main Street Center is here to participate in an assessment that is being led by Florida Main Street. I am going to turn it over to Ms. Catherine Beck, who's actually driving, so please give us grace, guys.
Yeah. Hi, good evening. Thank you. My name is Catherine Beck, and I am the state coordinator for the Florida Main Street program. I am looking forward to working with your community and bringing you through this program. I think that Opa-locka has done an incredible job in laying the groundwork necessary for this program to be successful, and I look forward to the results that you produce. Thank you for having us.
And then really quickly, Ms. Dion, we were kind of zoomed out for a second. We couldn't hear you. So if you could please state your name one more time and the organization with you with, just for our clarification purposes.
Certainly. Dion Bo, Vice President of Urban Development with Main Street America. 50 miles. Trying to say that.
All right. Thank you.
50, no problem.
Now that you all given introductions, I would like to open up to the board if they had any initial questions for both national and state Main Street coordinators. So board members, if you would like to ask any questions to National Main Street and State Main Street, this is a good opportunity. No.
I think that an important issue here is how do we engage the community? This room should be full of people who are excited about the potential for Main Street. So what are we not doing to generate this excitement, and how can we change that?
Oh, hi. And yes, we actually have been having that discussion today. It is an educational process. You're going to have to get your board together. You're going to have to get your committees together, and you're going to have to be out working in the community. Now, I will say that the business leadership that we met with today, business owners, we're very excited. We're very engaged. We're looking forward to the program. But as all of you are probably very well aware, it takes the community support for this program to work. So, you know, with that educational piece is what has got to be implemented here. You've got to get your branding in place. The community has to understand the scope and function of Main Street, and hopefully will support what we project to be the benefits of that program.
I want to make a quick comment and give a shout out to Mr. Delane for really spearheading this for the great city of Opa-locka. I want to extend my thanks to you, to staff and the interim city manager, Darwin Williams, for supporting your efforts. And also, although you're not here, state and national reps, we so appreciate the council, the advisement and the encouragement that you're giving staff to really get this thing kicked off. I know for a fact that I have enjoyed many cities from a very touristic standpoint that have this designation, that really bear the fruits of the labor that are put into programs like this. And I really believe in the prospects of what Opa-locka will end up being as a result of a program like this and other initiatives. I do echo the sentiment of Board Member McIntyre that it is crucial that we're 10 steps ahead in being collaborative with the community, getting their participation, their feedback. Obviously, that is one of the tenets that makes any Main Street a success. And I know that Mr. Delane is committed to making sure that we have not just the resources, but the strategy that backs all these wonderful ideas, so that we actually have a fully executable vision of what this is going to look like in the next few years. So simply put, I just wanted to say thank you to, once again, our contacts at the national and state level for entrusting Mr. Delane specifically with this Herculean task, knowing that it's not going to be an easy lift, but very much aware that there are those on the ground that are supporting this and believe in what it's going to become. So thank you.
All right. Next, I would like to introduce to the board the University of Florida's Historic Preservation Study course, spearheaded by Director Clearly Larkin and Miss Linda Stevenson. If you all would like to come up and speak to the board.
Good evening, Board.
Good evening.
Corey, and thank you so much for that nice introduction. So we are really excited to be here with our students. I'm Linda Stevenson, adjunct faculty in the Historic Preservation Program at University of Florida. Our director, Dr. Clary Larkin. And we have 8 students that are studying, getting their master's degree in historic preservation or construction management with us this time. So the project came about actually from a conversation. I should also mention that 3 of us are on the board of the Florida Trust for Historic Preservation. And there was a conversation that happened between Corian and Cleary about the community and the work being done here. And the idea came that maybe we should bring our survey class, which we offer every spring, to Opa-locka to see if we could help out with documenting the historic resources. So this is how we ended up being here this time. And so our mission really is to document the original town plat of Opa-locka, all of the parcels within, and to be able to present this data that we find to the city for your future planning work. Because it's really important to know what you have before you implement the plan. So that's our mission. I'm happy to entertain any questions if anyone has any.
So I guess I'll go. Can you just tell us where you are in the process, like how far you've gotten? And
Okay.
then also secondly, have you all come up with anything interesting during your exploration or your investigation that you want to just share just an experience scenario?
Yes, actually, thank you for that question. So we've just started this course at the beginning of January, and we began with some historical research. And I really like to credit Alex Van Meckel for the extraordinary research he's done, which really formed a foundation for us to springboard for the rest of our historical research as well. And this is our first day with the students in the community. So we were out in the community. We started our documentation process on 27th Avenue, and we were heading west on Yon, on Sesame, on Dunod, and several of the other streets as we document each parcel. And actually the best part has been talking to the community members that are really interested in what we're doing. And, you know, we've been able to engage with them and get some really good information. And of course, the wealth of historic resources here is just really fascinating and interesting for us. So far, we've had a really great day, and we will be here all day tomorrow too.
Congrats. Interesting.
Oh, sure. Okay. So, okay. So the other thing that what we're doing actually is the inventory process we're using is the state Florida master site file. And what that is that's a statewide inventory of heritage resources in Florida. So that's the methodology that we're using. And we've also created a little app on our phones. So what we do is we can go out, we take a picture of the property, we document some basic information about the construction materials, the condition of the property, what we know about the history, and then we go back to our studios and then prepare the forms. And this documentation record then gets turned into the state as well as given to the city for your planning purposes.
Interesting. Cool. Thank you.
And actually, we're going to be back. So this is our first trip this weekend. And in fact, we're going to be back in 2 weeks' time with another couple of students to work some more. And we may be back a third time too.
So you think it's going to take you about 2 months, or how long? What's usually the duration of the process?
So the class actually lasts until mid-April.
Okay.
So I think we're going to attempt to complete most of our work by that point in time, and hopefully have another presentation that we can share with your board at that point as
Okay,
well.
look forward to it.
Thank you.
Great.
I want to, it goes without saying, Linda, clearly, and fellow students, that by virtue of the work that you are working toward and what you will end up contributing to the great city of Opa-locka will have tremendous positive effect on our efforts to really bolster our heritage and really preserve and appreciate these landmarks for what they are and what they will be in the future. By extension of you enrolling in this class that you have, and with the wonderful leadership that you have in front of you, you are a part of the Opa-locka family. And I just want to say it has been such a joy to get to know Linda more directly, but now that Clearly and I have met and all the students have met as well, it is such a fascinating moment, this intersection of the Main Street America and Florida Main Street teams, along with, by chance, your scholarly and institutional approach to contributing such tremendous value to what we have here in this wonderful and historic city. The last time that a survey of this nature had been conducted was the late 80s. It has been some time. In fact, a lot of homes are now somewhat more historic than they were back in the 80s. So we were looking quite literally at the formative years of Opa-locka's history and the Moorish architecture, but there's a lot that's happened thereafter, very much related to our World War II era as a community, as a military presence. So I'm just so excited that you guys are here. Thank you, thank you, thank you for descending upon us, for the openness and willingness to want to learn, and to also impart your expertise in what you're going to end up sharing with this board, but most importantly with city officials and staff. So thank you so much for that.
Mr. Chair, if I could just piggyback off of your comments, and I wanted to say it is such a great thing to have this grouping of intellects and education and opportunities come before this particular city. We met earlier today, and they took a tour of the city and some of our historic properties to kind of get a sense of where we are with our Moorish revival architecture and the purpose and the need to try to preserve this collection of properties and homes. One of the things that we highlighted as we were having our discussion earlier today was that we needed to have more public engagement. So that's really going to be a key component to really moving this whole Main Street process forward. And it's really a key piece. As it's already been expressed, you know, there are people who are residing in these properties who really don't know the historical significance or the treasures that they are residing in. It may not look like a treasure right now. It may look a little rough, need a little polishing, you know, need a little TLC, but that's what we want to help them out in getting those particular properties to, you know, those pristine levels and just having them in a better position of presenting a better quality of life for the residents, where the people who reside in them can appreciate it, as well as the neighbors around them can enjoy it as well. The other thing that we talked about is actually, you know, engaging the property owners. Right now, there's a list of designated properties that has approximately 30 properties on there. I can tell you now that out of those 30, 2 have already gone by the wayside, unfortunately, by demolition, by neglect, or by natural phenomena that have occurred over a number of years. But we're looking to work with those particular property owners to keep those particular properties in good conditions. At the same time, we have looked at the tax appraisers information, and we've been able to determine that there's probably another good 20 to 25 properties that could potentially, just based on when they were built and some of the detailings of these particular structures, these homes or structures could possibly qualify to be a registered designated historic property at some point in time in the future. And we hope that through some of the funding sources that we've been able to identify, along with the aqua funds that we're hoping to utilize, that we will give those property owners and those homeowners an opportunity to help bring their properties back up to par. So those are some of the things that we're looking at to engage as well. Maintenance of the existing properties, very important. Like I said, a lot of people may not understand the jewels that they are residing in. So having them work towards some type of standards as it relates to the maintenance of the property is going to play a very key role moving forward. And as I've already stated, the potential properties. So we had discussions about that earlier today when we met. We know where we want to move forward with. We have an idea of what our goals are in order to achieve this. We do have the largest repository of Moorish revival architecture, but we can make that repository even larger and almost double the amount of historic properties that we have. So we're really looking forward to the information that this group of students is going to bring back to us and be able to move this overall adventure moving into Main Street going forward. One thing that we did talk about was the establishment of historic districts. And we looked at the possibility that, we may need to look at having a separate historic designation or historic district aside from what the district is for the Main Street. So that we have two districts that can be potential opportunities for drawing down additional funding to support those particular property owners as well. So we got a lot of work to do, a lot of work that's going to be going forward, but we do have a goal and an objective to achieve. So I thank you for coming and making this particular presentation. We look forward to you coming back and giving us the interim updates as we make progress. And as these students move toward getting their masters in historic preservation, I really look forward to seeing them possibly even come back and being a historic preservationist planner, if we can hopefully have that position at the city of Opa-locka. So, Mr. Chair, thank you.
Mr. Chair and Mr. Gay. So I echo what both of you all said. I truly agree with it and totally thank everyone for their actions and pursuit to come in and show forth what could be, and also documenting what was in its heyday was something that was great and also has the opportunity to be great again. I do have two questions. One is for Mr. Gay. So as we talk about trying to assist these particular property owners and focusing on, because in one of the previous sessions, we talked about having a grant to assist those particular homeowners. But then another layer of that is there any way that there can be a tax abatement for them in an historic home? So for example, let's say, for example, it's $20,000 to improve a home or something of that sort. Is there any way to look in as a tax abatement to assist them or to attract other owners to come in and purchase property and to invest in them? So that would be one question. If you want me to go to the next one, I don't know if you want to respond or not, Mr. Gay.
Actually, I can respond to that one very quickly. The tax abatement process is something that's really determined by the municipality itself. I already know that there's an opportunity for tax abatement through Miami-Dade County that can be worked through the county's portion of their property taxes in relationship. The city is also looking at piggybacking off of that and doing a city portion of tax abatement or tax reduction. We're analyzing that particular information right now to see what would be the best opportunities to work that out. And it has to be something that's time sensitive as well. So we're going to be working on that particular legislation. That is something that we intend to proffer before the board so that the board can have its weigh in on it and make sure that it's the proper documentation and the proper process. And then we will be able, from the board's recommendation, to move that forward for city commission consideration. So yes, we're able to do that.
Right. I mean, I think that would definitely bring in interest from people that would not necessarily think of Opa-locka or the historical homes in Opa-locka as an investment property or as a residence for themselves. So I think that would definitely help. The second question is, I know that we spoke about from Main Street and also from a collective of trying to get additional community engagement and community involvement. So my question is, how are we going to strategize to get that community engagement and involvement? For example, on one side of the coin, how do we look at the commercials, the commercial community that we have here? How do we get their involvement, get them engaged? But then also on the residential side, how do we get them engaged? So I'm just curious, do we also tend to want to bring in additional businesses that may be attracted? Like, for example, right now, we've been able to get Amazon to come in, which is definitely a economic generator here. But then the question is, how do we continue to build on that and get other particular industries that may come and consider Opa-locka? Because as you start to build that, you start building a presence, you start building a economy, and you start building places that people want to come, and not just for entertainment where everybody wants to go to Miami Beach, but it's more of a commerce type situation. So I'm just curious, how can we continuously grow and impact those particular options as we go forward? I don't know if it's to you or to the Main Street, but I'm just curious to know, how do we continuously embrace that?
Board Member
Or
Brown,
strategize.
you bring an excellent question, and it's a very multifaceted question. It's not something that's just can be targeted as a part of the economic growth of the city overall. A part of the Main Street initiative does look at the economics of the Main Street area and being able to attract different businesses into the particular community. But as we focus on the Main Street, there will be that spill off that will kind of flourish into other areas that are not necessarily within the Main Street boundaries. So that's one of the things that we kind of had a discussion about earlier today, that, you know, as we begin to attract new businesses, and as you look at what potential businesses can be brought into the Main Street area, you're definitely starting with the mom and pop type of businesses.
Mhm.
And I know you talked about, you know, the larger corporations, which more so are going to be focused on the industrial areas of the city. I think within the Main Street initiative overall, you're probably more so focusing on the commercial areas, especially within the downtown area. But as we begin those cross connections and discussions about how those small businesses can interact with the Amazons and the UPSs and the larger entities and do business, not just, you know, from side to side, but also from a vertical perspective and helping each other grow. I think that's going to be a real strong push overall as we move into the future of this. We're just getting, you know, things moving, and we're definitely going to be able to entertain that. We're looking at creating a chamber of commerce for the city overall, and maybe linking through the Main Street as well as the larger corporations, utilizing that as a connection for those type of conversations to take place.
Thank you. Has the CRA or the city started a facade rehab program for commercial businesses?
The CRA has had that particular project once before. That was, matter of fact, one of the first initiatives of the CRA. I believe they're looking at continuing that particular program, but that will be under their jurisdiction. At the same time, there are areas that are not within the CRA that are commercial areas. Me and my staff are also looking at basically having a tandem type of program to focus on the areas that are not within the CRA boundary. And just to kind of advance that one step further, we just recently brought on staff an economic development manager, Mr. Solomon Bankoff, who is also with us. That's going to be part of one of his assignments, to look at the opportunities for facade improvement programs and be able to piggyback off of what the CRA has already initiated for those areas that are not within the CRA boundaries.
Right. Thank you for that. as we continue to move forward with this, implementing these different seeds that will grow, it will be interesting to see how the historical district overlays with the CRA district, overlays with the Main Street district, just to kind of see those three different areas and see how it overlaps and see how they kind of relate with each other, to see if there's any opportunity to create synergy or a stronger connectivity between the two or three.
Excellent. Yes.
That's all I have.
Do we have any other projects or programs to provide updates to from the city?
We do not have any additional information to provide at this time, but as we've had some discussions, one of the things that we're looking at achieving through the Historic Preservation, Environmental Preservation Board is to identify the design work for our badges for our historic properties. I know we've had some discussions about that. We want to take that a little bit further and actually initiate some specific design work and identify a consultant or a designer to bring that particular item moving forward. So that's going to be one of the agendas items that's going to be coming forth before you going into the future. Also, the discussions relating to the designation of historic districts and how those are going to play a role as it relates to not just the properties that may be already designated, but those properties that are considered contributors to the district overall. So we have a significant amount of work to do, but we look forward to getting some of those things accomplished.
Thank you for that. And not to add more work to your plate, but not just for the sake of the board, but also for our guests who are descending on Opa-locka and seeing our landmarks for the first time. And just because it's on the agenda, I wanted to ask about our most iconic landmark being the Opa-locka Company Administration Building, AKA Historic City Hall. Is there anything that the city is comfortable at least announcing or at least providing a timeline on its restoration?
Well, we do have one of the project managers that's involved with the restoration of what we call Historic City Hall, but what you're calling it by its original name. We have Miss Adelina Gross, who is over our capital improvement project, and she can provide us with some updates as it relates to that project.
Good evening, board. Adelina Gross, CIP manager. I'm happy to announce that the RFP for Historic City Hall is out. So we are going to be selecting a contractor to complete the process of renovation. And it will be completed within this year. So you will have a new building administration of AKA Historic City Hall by the end of this year.
Does that, just because of its proximity to the administration building, AKA City Hall, does that include the fire station or is that on a separate timeline altogether?
It's a separate timeline. The process for the fire station is a little longer since the damage in the building is a little more complicated due to the structural components. But we are currently working on the design of that project and we will have an RFP soon to engage a contractor.
Wonderful. Out of curiosity, is this board going to be privy to that contract, the selected contractors work on the building in terms of colorations and any specific aesthetics that would be of interest for the sake of preservation?
We are working with an architect company that is specializing in historic buildings. And Mr. Manager, looking for your. So it will be presented at a further time.
Wonderful. Board members, did you have any questions for Ms. Gross?
So my question is, the current state of the historical city hall, can you just kind of walk us through, like, where is it? Is it, because I remember a while ago, it was being it was done the restoration. However, I don't know where it ended or where it is now. What's the current condition of the historical?
The structure of the building is good. There was a lot of work done on the inside of the building. However, there was at some point some leaking that was also repaired. And what we are looking forward is to restore the inside of the building as well as the outside of the building.
When you go to restore the inside, are we talking life safety systems, handicap accessibility, everything from the interior environment, all the way from finishes to lighting and everything else?
Yes,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Yes, I just wanted to know, who was the architect again that you mentioned? I couldn't quite hear.
NC Harris. NC Harris.
I've never heard of
MC Harry.
MCA.
MC Harry, okay.
Thank you so
Yes.
much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Gross.
You're welcome.
We really appreciate those updates. We look forward to continuing conversations related to historic home markers. Hopefully soon, any information related to grants coming from the city, as well as just a continued progress of our beloved landmark of that city hall and the fire station. So thank you again, Ms. Gross, for coming up on a whim and giving us a few updates. We can go ahead and proceed to board comments. Board Member Brown, if you'd like to make any comments, just going down the road.
No comments. I just really truly appreciate everyone attending and everyone's efforts to kind of bring the city of Opa-locka to its heyday and bring restoration to the historic structures. I just truly want to say thank you from my side and just thank you.
Thank you. Once again, just from my perspective, welcome, welcome, welcome. We are at your disposal. We're so happy that you're here, and we look forward to the fruits of your labor being made very much public and celebrated at the time that's appropriate. I also want to give a shout out to, of the 9 board members that convene, well, not tonight, but generally speaking, there's 9 of us total here at the Historic and Environmental Preservation Board. We have a new member that has joined us. This is his first meeting. I'd like to introduce Board Member Bob Smith, who is no stranger to the space of and conversations related to preservation. So Board Member Smith, I turn it over to you to make some comments, introduce yourself, and impart some wisdom on us.
Well, thank you very much. Again, my name is Bob Smith, and I'm very pleased to have been made a part of this board. And I've always had a soft spot in my heart for Opa-locka, and I'm really looking forward to doing what I can to help wonderful things move forward here. So again, I thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your service to the great city. Board Member McIntyre, any comments?
Bob and I go a long way back. So I know that he's authentic and really into preservation. I'd also like to make a comment about the Main Street program. I have attended a number of conferences over the years through the National Trust, and Main Street programs are often presented as part of their educational sessions. I also attended a Main Street conference that was held in Melbourne, Florida, a few years ago. And they are wonderful, wonderful experiences with just tremendous opportunities for learning on how to make it work. So any opportunity we have to bring them in, it's the best for us. And is there anything we can do as board members to help? Can we help, how can we help move this process along? Other than, one thing to come and spend a couple of hours at a board meeting, but is there anything else we can do to help get this thing going and get the enthusiasm?
Thank you very much. In that case, in response to that, I would defer in the future to Mr. Delane to tap into our enthusiasm to do just that. So I look forward to hearing from Mr. Delane and him engaging this board, both current and future members that are here tonight. Without further ado, I just want once again to say thank you all, both in person and anyone virtually that have joined tonight. We are so excited. First of all, Happy New Year. I should have started by saying that this is our first meeting of the year 2023. And I'm so excited about where we're headed. We are, I want to say on the eve of, but not quite, our 100th anniversary in 1926 as a city, established May 14th, 26. So I said this, we've all said this in various capacities. This is the moment, this is a moment for our city. We have so many wonderful, talented experts and passionate contributors that are coming here to impart and to contribute all that they can to move the needle forward so that in the next 3 or so years, we are going to be very much ready to pop the bottle and really celebrate such an achievement. And of course, we're going to be joined by our sister city, Miami Springs, who's also celebrating their 100th anniversary that same year. But nevertheless, this is a great moment. 2023 is going to be a fantastic year. I look forward to all that's to come from the Main Street team and Mr. Delane. I look forward to hearing more and seeing more from the UF crew. And of course, to work alongside all the board members. So thank you for coming tonight. And thank you, everyone. This meeting is adjourned. The time is 7:01.